Welcome to this third and final video in the Excellence in Sales series. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer. After this, be checking your email. I'll be doing a couple of webinars this next week. I'm recording this on Sunday, September 7th. On Tuesday, the 16th of September, we're launching The Art of the Close for the second time. This is 7 live calls. And in today's final video, I had asked in video 2 to send me your questions. And so I'm recording this video actually a day later than I had planned because the questions that came in honestly kind of surprised me. I was expecting questions to come in about overcoming objections or, do you leave a voicemail or not? How to, maybe some closes, some scripts, some things like that, to shut people down the hard way. And I got questions that were quite different. I've got them up on my screen. I'll be reading them and addressing them, but they go much deeper into business, into thinking through the sale. How are things different in different types of industries? So I wanted to spend some time addressing those and to also give you a little insight into how I approach sales, how I approach business, how I approach just the mentality of being an entrepreneur, being a salesperson. Because during the 7 live calls of The Art of the Close, we have a 66-page workbook. Now I think it's up to about 70 pages. I've been adding some new content to it. But every time it's live Q&A. So we can get into topics like this because nothing is cut and dry. You see all these gurus out there pushing one thing or another. Hey, just do podcasting and you'll get rich. Just master Facebook and you'll get rich. Master video marketing, you'll get rich. The truth is, you got to bring it all together. Throughout these series, you remember in 1 and 2, I talked about preparation, process, right, and then profits. And so you remember also we talked about how selling is a calling, serving is its purpose, questioning is the process, and a sale may be the solution. So I wanted to take today's call in a little different direction and address several questions that I got from the Ask Wes opportunity that I gave you over this last week or so. There were 4 questions that came in that really surprised me a little bit. They're a little deeper. They are a lot different from what I was expecting. People ask all the time, when's the best time to call, or should I leave a voicemail message, or a lot of very tactical things. But these questions were a little deeper, so this video is going to go a little bit longer as I address these 4 questions individually. So the first is, as you see here, is from George. He says, "Hey Wes, I took a sales course nearly 20 years ago on sales for the non-selling professional. Would you mind going over that briefly? How to turn the sales process from what is the traditional model into one of selling for chiropractors or lawyers or MDs is a challenge for most of us. Even though we may have been in it for years, we sometimes need confirmation that we are doing it right, or we need to find ways to tweak what we are doing that may be right. Maybe that's another course entirely, but I think the general concepts are there." So you're absolutely right, George. Now, going up here to the very top, or towards the top there, I think we are all in sales. And a sale happens in every human interaction. Even you go to a restaurant and, you ask the waiter for a side of ranch, to dip your French fries in, let's say, like my wife loves to do. Now she has me enjoying it, but that waiter could say, it's an extra 50 cents or an extra 75 cents. And then you could either pay it or you could say, oh, never mind. You could put up a fuss and have them throw it in. But either way, a sale is made on why you should get it for free or why you should pay for it. So in every situation, a sale is going on. So we need to recognize that. And every person in a company is in sales. Okay, now sure, you may not be processing the order, and taking the payment, but we all create an impact, an impression on the prospect. And you know what? If you're not selling something, why are you in business? The only reason to be in business is to turn a profit and to maximize your profit. When you're a public company, that's your legal obligation, is to maximize the return on investment for shareholders. So you've got to get that in your mind that everybody is in sales, okay? But then when you look at like an MD or an attorney, they're in sales also. Look at how that doctor presents himself or herself. They've got a staff. You've got to sign in. You've got to answer all the questions ahead of time. The physician's assistant will then come in and take your temperature and check your vitals. Then you got to wait again in another room, and then the doctor comes in. The doctor's got her white lab coat on. She's got the fancy stethoscope. Okay, she has the diplomas and everything on the wall. That's all a sale. Okay, they're setting you up. They're letting you know ahead of time that you're dealing with a professional. Okay, that you're on her turf. And how often do we question what a doctor says? Sure, you have the old, I'd like to get a second opinion. And yeah, on something serious you might, but then again, on something really serious, you might not. You go in with chest pains in the ER, you don't question what they say. You do what they say. So, in a way, they are in sales. Even these non-selling professionals. Certainly, if you look at an MD in sports medicine or cosmetic surgery where things are optional, they are definitely making a pitch. Okay, and trust me, I have worked with cosmetic surgeons, I have worked with chiropractors, I have worked with laser eye surgeons, I have worked with dentists. Okay, they have big upsell packages. So don't think that they're not in sales, but when George brings this up, how to turn the sales process, what is a traditional model and one of selling for chiropractors, lawyers, okay, so sure, they're not twisting somebody's arm, right? They're not, okay, what's it going to take for you to get your surgery today? So you're not doing that, but I don't think that works across the board anyway. There are some sales trainers out there that are still preaching and pushing that hard close, but for most of us, for me especially, I'm against that. I don't think that works, at least in my line of work. But there can still be things you can do to choreograph the sale. Just like I said, as I described, you go in and the physician's assistant takes your vitals and you fill out the paperwork and all. What can you do to choreograph that sales interaction to stack the odds in your favor? Okay, and I am always using the attorney or the physician example in traditional sales situations. And what I mean by that, remember as I started, selling is a calling, serving is a purpose, questioning is the process. Attorneys, when they say the first call is free, those guys, what they are doing is disqualifying that prospect. Okay, if you come in for a workers' comp claim, sure, that attorney might be a little excited because it could be a big payoff, but they're also quite leery. They're going to ask you straight up, have you ever filed a claim before? Have you ever filed a claim for this exact injury? Have you ever filed it at your existing company? How many times have you filed it in the past? How would you describe your, attendance record or performance on the job? Are you getting, 5 stars? Are you on any type of probation? They want to know if there's anything kind of shady going on. And if things don't all line up, they will not take you on as a client. That attorney is disqualifying you. And that's what I cover in my training, especially in the art of the close coming up. We get into the disqualification process. At any point in time, there's only a small percentage, single digits, of the marketplace is ready, willing, and able to buy right now today. Now, studies have shown that upwards of 67% of people will buy in the next 12 months. 80% will buy in the next 2 years. Okay, so you have to fix your follow-up failure. That's a whole other program that I have. But you have to get into the sorting and sifting and disqualification mindset. And when you do, that fourth tenet that I talked about earlier, a sale may be the solution. If they're not quite ready today, that's fine. If you've got a follow-up sequence in place, when they're ready tomorrow or next week, your system is keeping you in front of them and you're top of mind so they do buy. But when you disqualify, Okay, that helps you spend your time and energy on those that can buy. And it's a big difference. A lot of traditional sales trainers will tell you, expect to hear 5 no's before you hear yes. So they tell you to spend all of your time on the close. But in situations like this with the attorneys, chiropractors, whatever, your non-traditional selling situation, which I think everything's a sale anyway, even these people, but they can spend more time on the setup, spend more time and energy with better marketing. Let people know who you work on and who you don't, who you're not a good fit for. So people are self-selecting. Okay, so when they show up at your front door, they're 50 or 70 or 90% closed already. So now, when you have a good choreography, when you have congruency, right, when your office and your decor and the music and even the smells and the staff and how they look and how they present and interact and welcome that new client, that new patient, all of that jives with your marketing, and the prospect just opens up. Okay, so it takes effort to make a sale. All right, you're either going to spend it trying to shut them down on the close or trying to open them up in the beginning. I prefer opening them up better in the beginning. Okay. Next question comes from Joe, and he says, let's get back from vacation. I guess key issue I would want you to cover involves the point beyond the mere exchange of typical product features and benefits to the point where it gets personal. Assuming the salesperson has politely probed enough to gather the data, compelling reasons to buy, unique to the client, the salesperson then must skillfully shift to a focused track of leading questions that bring the focus entirely into the realm of the buyer's needs and not the salesman's needs. This is a delicate moment in the process, and when finished, the buyer should be acting on their own behalf. While this is a lengthy process, always be closing, this moment is key. This is the essence of spend selling, but I would love to hear your perspective. So, a lot of things to discuss here. Joseph is talking about move beyond the mere exchange of typical product features and benefits. Well, yeah, you've got to do that anyway, especially now with the internet and social media and social sharing. People can do their homework and their research. They will know all of the features probably better than you, okay, because they are studying it. If you sell cars, say you're at the Ford dealership, I don't know how many models of Fords there are, but there are a bunch, right? And then when you look at all the options, and then when you look at the used car inventory, there's no way you as a salesperson can be an expert in everything unless you've done it for a really long time, okay? But if somebody that's looking at a new Ford Taurus, and they want the Echo Boost or whatever, they can drill down and over the course of a week or a month or 6 months study that car and really be an expert. So they'll know the features and benefits. They've compared the Ford Taurus to the Chevy Impala and whatever, okay? So they understand probably better than you. So let's assume that's the case for the moment. Okay, and that's where you've got to move beyond. The salesperson today is still needed, but not so much to provide these features and benefits, but to confirm the beliefs, to confirm the research, okay, to convey that confidence. Zig Ziglar always talked about selling as the transference of a feeling, and that feeling is one of confidence. So we're there to let the person know they're on the right track. And then if they miss something, if they left something out, then we bring up that feature, we let them know the true benefit, and then we nudge them along, help them along to the close. Okay, because if they've done that much research, people still need help making a decision. And while they may be wringing their hands and things are kind of tough, once you help them make that decision, the pressure is off, they're relieved. They want to take possession of that car or the new purse or the new computer. Okay, so help them realize they're making the right decision and make it easy for them to purchase. Okay, so so he says to the point where it gets personal. Well, I wrote a blog post not too long about it. I think all sales are personal. People say, I'm in B2B sales. Back in 2007, I did a $635,000 deal with Dell to do training on Salesforce.com and their new sales training methodology. And even though Dell, the company, wrote a check to my company, I got close to 2 people in charge of training, and it was really those 2 people that wrote that check to me. Okay, so it was very personal. You know, we hung out, we went to dinner, we went to lunch. We worked on this for weeks, a couple of months. I met them in different cities to audit some of the initial trainings that they were currently doing and help to mold it and shape it. So, I think everything is personal now. Again, especially with social media and internet, people can get to know you. They can look you up. They can see that you're more than just the business persona you put forward. Okay, so I think it's all personal. So going on here, assuming the salesperson is politely probed enough to gather the data, salesperson then must skillfully shift to a focused track of leading questions. Well, I think from the very beginning, we're asking good questions. If you remember in the earlier videos, I talked about the salesperson is in charge of structure. The prospect is in charge of content. And if you haven't gotten it already, click below or get go to thesalesagenda.com if you don't have it, and get the sales agenda that I have for free. From the very beginning, when you do this right, you are setting the stage and letting the prospect know that you are showing up there to ask questions, to probe, to diagnose. You're not there to do a dog and pony show. You're not there to pitch and to present and let them pepper you with questions. So when you do this right, you're turning the tables. People always say, oh, I'm different. My business is different. Well, if you are different, then prove that you're different by acting differently from the very beginning. Okay, so from the very beginning, I'm asking questions. And if people want to fight me on that, hey, aren't you getting kind of ahead of yourself? Or that's kind of a personal question. Or that's kind of, I don't know if I'm ready to answer that question. I tell them straight up, Mr. Prospect, it sounds like you don't trust me. And that's a problem, right? I mean, we just met. So I don't know what I've done to not earn your trust, but, maybe you've been lied to or misled in the past. And I understand, and I apologize for others in the sales profession like me, but I cannot do my job if I don't get these questions answered. So how would you like to move forward? If I don't get these answered, I can't help you, so we should end the meeting, or I need to get some answers to this. How would you like to proceed? I mean, you gotta hit them right between the eyes, because that's the truth. If people don't answer my questions about how are sales, what's working, what isn't working, tell me about your turnover, tell me about your interview process, how do you onboard people, how do you retain and motivate and keep key employees, all these different things. If they won't answer the questions, I can't help. So I'm not going to get into it. Okay? So shift, blah, 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 unique to the client. Salesperson then skillfully shift. Buyer's needs and not the salesman's needs, right? Well, like I said, those 4 tenets. A sale may be the solution. Number 2 is, selling is a calling, serving is its purpose. So to really do this right, you're not there to meet your needs. Again, Zig Ziglar said you can get anything you want if you help enough people get what they want. So if you're truly there to serve, truly there to help them, that will come out. That feeling, that message will be conveyed. The prospect will relax. They will answer your questions. And a sale may be the solution, and it'll be easy. I always say there's 2 types of sales in this world, the easy ones and those you don't get. Okay, so turning things around from the very beginning, letting them know you're going to ask a lot of questions, letting them know you're there to serve, letting them know you cannot make a recommendation until you know the answers to the questions. Okay, until you get all that done, you can't help them. As you say here before, down here, always be closing. Well, I think the new ABCs are always be curious, always be concise, always be consistent. Okay, and the word again, always be congruent. Everything must match. Your advertising and your tonality online or in print must match how you speak on the phone, how you interact in person, how your office looks. All of that must be seamless. It must be congruent. It must be consistent. Okay, And as a salesperson, if you're truly curious all the time, you'll dig down. Because in sales, we really have to get about 3 or 5 levels deep into why. Why is that important? How long has that been an issue? Who else besides you cares? And really dig deep to get to the root of the issue. Because if the prospect truly understood their pain and their ramifications of not fixing it, then they would have already fixed it. So our job in sales now more than ever really is hurt and rescue, right? We've got to bring up the ugly issues, the pain, the problem of not doing something, and then throw them a line, right? Throw them a rescue line so they can fix their own issues, all right, or resolve those with our help. And then, the spin selling, I won't get into it here, but go check out Neil Rackham's book. The SPIN is an acronym, stands for situation, problem, implication, needs, payoff. So situational questions are like, how many computers do you have? How many employees do you have? What's your current situation? Things you can look up online if they're a public company, or things the receptionist could answer. The idea is to spend more time in the farther to the right than the P's, the I's, and the N's. All right, that's where you dig deeper. That's where you ask the questions that the C-level executives answer. And that's what they're upset about. And if you can get them upset and emotional and riled up, then you can make $1 million sale to solve $1 million problem, right? And that's where we all want to be spending our time. So thanks for that question, Joseph. I hope that helped. Moving on, Dr. Joyce sent this, and this is another quite different type of question than I was expecting from a sales standpoint, but I wanted to address it because it's a great question. How can we stay focused on one thing and not get distracted? Always trying every new thing in an effort to make money yesterday. It's definitely a question I have, but also as a health professional, people don't expect to hear from me personally. I almost experience a sense of disappointment when we connect on the phone, and my best clients are the ones that think they're communicating with an assistant versus me regularly. They expect to hear from an assistant or manager. I'm so torn between the need for the professionalism of a doctor, with others talking about pricing and gaining the client-patient commitment, and me doing it personally. Personally, I would never expect to connect with or speak to my doctor until I have become his or her patient. What are your thoughts on this? So in the first part, how do we stay focused and not get distracted? Well, you have to realize, first of all, there is no silver bullet. Okay, if you see something, if you see a concept or hear of an idea that is working, either in a different profession, but somebody that you trust and they're having good results, or in your own profession, in your own industry. Okay, I say that because quite often our competition is clueless, all right? And the best way to succeed is to look at what everybody's doing and do the opposite. But if somebody's in your field and they're absolutely killing it, then look at it and see what they're doing right. See what you can emulate in your own business, okay? But also look outside of your industry. Famous examples are always, Henry Ford figured out the assembly line from looking at a butcher shop, I think it was in Milwaukee, where they had a disassembly line, okay? Gutenberg came up with the idea for the printing press by looking at wine presses, how they would squeeze the grapes. And there was another one with, like they did metal stamping or something like that. So we got the idea for the printing press. So quite often you want to look outside of your industry for new ideas. But once you see something, go ahead and implement it fully before you shift gears. And that's what happens. We see an idea and then we only halfway implement it. And then we decide it doesn't work, so we go try to find something else. Okay, and the fact is most things will work. Sure, some things are going to be better, but anything you do that you do fully is going to give you some type of results. And from there you can measure. And anything that can be measured, we learned from total quality management, right, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, by Edward Deming. If you can measure it, you can improve it. So as entrepreneurs, most of us, and I'm guilty of this as well, we don't like looking at the numbers. We just want to keep going, be creative, engage, sell. But the analytics, the reporting is important. You've got to do something fully so you can get an accurate assessment on how that worked. And then our goal as a business owner, our number one job is to market our business, right? And from there, we are always trying to beat our best ad. You know, I'm doing a series of Twitter ads right now, and I get reports from Twitter every day that says, here's how your ads are performing, here's your best ones, here are your worst ones. And I go change the worst ones, and I try to beat the best ones. All right, so you're always trying to beat your best ads. So you've got to focus. You've got to look deep, I think, and analyze what is it that's holding you back from completing what you're working on. And I truly think, just as human beings, we are more afraid of success than failure. And so maybe we don't think we're worthy, maybe we don't think we've paid our dues enough, whatever head trash is going on, we hold back and we hamstring ourselves from success. So figure out why that is, and then you'll implement and you'll succeed. Okay? But next, you have an interesting dilemma of, how accessible do we make ourselves? The guru is always on top of the mountain. Okay, nobody ever walked down into the valley to meet with the guru. So you do that because you want it to be hard. You only want the committed and the dedicated to go through the effort. And by putting forth the effort, then they are worthy of meeting with the great guru on the mountain. But really what happens, it goes back to the old adage of when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And the effort of climbing that mountain, okay, if nothing else, the student feels silly to climb the mountain and go through all that effort only to get the advice and ignore it. That's why when you pay a lot for some training, you're more likely to stick with it because you're like, oh, heck, I spent way too much money to not unwrap this thing and apply it. So in a lot of ways, if you want to do your clients a favor, charge more for what you do. It'll make them focus. It'll make them implement it. Okay, so how do we let them speak with you versus an assistant? Going back what I talked about earlier with the doctor in the example with George. Was it George? Yeah. The process that people go through when they go to see their doctor. You got to sit in the lobby, you got to fill out your history, you meet with the physician assistant first. Sometimes you may never even see the doctor. So can you hire a VA, either overseas or here in the U.S. or even locally? And even if you can only hire them for a couple of hours a day, that's fine. Let people stand in line, if you will. Let them wait a few hours or a couple of days before they get a response from your assistant. Okay? And I use Google Docs, so it's the business, the Google Apps, it's the business tool for Google. It's really very good. You get 24-hour support. It's really good. But I have an assistant, and she can check my email. I can check hers, but I can send email as her. Okay, so because she only works a couple hours a day for me. And so sometimes it's late at night or early morning or weekends, and I'm at my computer and I see a question come in or something, and I want to go ahead and answer the question for the prospect, but I don't want them to A, know that it's me, and B, I don't want to get into this long exchange on the weekend or something, because again, maybe I just have a minute or two, and I don't mind answering the question. So I will respond as my assistant. So at least I get an immediate answer, and when my assistant comes to work, the next day or, Monday, whatever it is after the weekend, she can continue with it. But I also have a series of hoops people have to jump through. And so I have my frequently asked questions, my should ask questions, I've got videos. When they do the contact us, I ask them to fill out a lot of questions. Okay, it takes them to another page. Then my assistant will get that email. So I put some hoops as well for people to jump through. And then when it's time to talk, they call me. I don't call them. And I have a very narrow window. So consider putting in more processes like that so you're a little bit harder to reach. Okay, and then consider hiring an assistant because that might work. Or if either money prevents you from hiring an assistant or if that's just truly not your style and you want to help people one-on-one and actually give them access to you, charge more money. Okay, so people know, if they spend enough money, they're going to expect and demand they get you, right? But the other thing is put that into your marketing. Make videos and explain how you work and explain why you're different. And the reason you're different and the reason you charge more is that they get access to you. Okay? They're not going to be shuffled off and handed over to some assistant with no qualifications. They get you. So now again, you're pre-sorting, you're disqualifying, you're sifting. People that want to deal with you will then pay the money and look forward to speaking with you. Now there's no letdown. Now they're excited. Now they're looking forward to speaking with you and they're excited. Then all their friends that may be paying less go, I can't believe you're paying that much money for that kind of help. I don't pay that, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, well, did you get to actually speak with the doctor? Do you have set calls with that person instead of their assistant? That's what will help them justify that purchase. Okay? So I hope that helps. Thanks for that. And then finally, Bob sends me this, and this is a quite unique situation as well. So he says he's a food demonstrator at Costco warehouse number 1. Yes, the original, very first Costco for over a year now. And we're drilled about doing the hard sell. I tried doing it, and I'm sometimes successful. My supervisor has been great in giving me the hours I need to help support my family. I try hard. People still tell me they can hear me on the other side of the store. I also have at times been given non-food items to sell and seem to do well at that. And the boss told me I am good at it. Plus, it doesn't seem like anyone else on the food demonstrator staff has the skills. But my history in pastoral ministry, where the focus is more on building the relationship with the customer/family, and it doesn't necessarily lead to a sale. But the feeling I get is maybe that I'm planting the seed and some other staff will reap the benefits. That's my conflict with the hard sell. I've talked about this already. I'm not a big fan of the hard sell. Okay. Now, in this case, there'd be a slight modification to this rule, this belief. Okay. I'm not a big fan of shoving somebody into a $40,000 car when I know deep down they can only afford a $30,000 car. Okay. But in Costco, you're selling food. You're selling some $5 fish sticks. Okay. It's not as big of a deal. Now, you still can't just chase them and taunt them and, say you're an evil, bad, negligent mother if you don't get these fish sticks for your kids. Okay, but you can have some fun with it, okay, and say, come on, Mom, what are you going to do? Look at your kids. They love fish sticks. And look, it's so simple and it's easy. And look, these are breaded instead of fried, so it's healthier, blah, blah, blah. You can have some fun with it and encourage the sale. Versus, shouting them down or belittling them. But you need to have some fun with this. I just finished watching on the History Channel. They had a 2-part, like a 4-hour series on Houdini. And Houdini's biggest skill was getting press. He was great at creating buzz. Okay. He came from the same line as like P.T. Barnum. Getting out there and really vamping things up, hyping things up, being entertaining, hurry, hurry, step right up sort of thing. Now, it may be hard to get fired up about fish sticks or Go-Gurts or whatever, but you know what? That's your job. And people love to eat. They build memories around the table, right? When a guy or a gal are dating somebody, when it gets serious, what do? They bring them home for dinner to meet the family. So meals are important, right? And so play into that, leverage that, and as people approach you, you say they can hear you from across the store. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'd have to kind of see how you're doing it and what you mean by that. I'm not typically loud and boisterous in that type of situation. But when you talk with people, as they're walking by, make sure you're not hiding behind the little stand or the little portable demo table. When you see nicer hotels now, even like Courtyards, though I'm seeing this, but certainly at Renaissance and others, instead of having that big long counter, now they have little kiosks, and they will come out after they enter your stuff and get your room. They'll walk out from behind the counter and hand you your keys and give you a map of the facility and ask if there's anything else they can do. So they're removing that barrier between us. So I would encourage you to do the same thing. Get the food prepped as quick as you can, and when possible, stand on the side or in front and engage people, smile at them. In retail, I'm always instructing my clients, rather than walking up to somebody and saying, "Hi, how can I help you?" Right? "Oh no, I'm just looking." Instead, change it up and just say, "What brings you in today?" Now, in the Costco example, that may be a little awkward compared to a furniture store, right? You know, if you're doing it at a furniture store, what brings you in today? "Oh, I'm just browsing," or, you know, it could be, I'm killing time while my wife's getting her nails done or something. Okay. Grocery store, what brings you in today? "Well, I'm in to get some food," right? But I would still try it and see what happens, because maybe they're in to get treats for their soccer team this weekend. You know, I've got 2 daughters playing soccer, and, you know, you always rotate who brings snacks. So say, "Well, you know, it's my weekly shopping, but, you know, I'm on snack duty this week for my kids." "Oh, really? Well, what sport?" And now you have a dialogue. Okay, so let's say you're selling fish sticks today. That probably wouldn't be a great snack at halftime for kids playing soccer. But you can talk about, you know, after the games, what do y'all do? Do you go out to eat? Do you reward them with anything? You know, "Have you seen these fish sticks? You know, they're breaded instead of fried, or they're microwavable, blah, blah, blah." You know, so they make a great snack, like maybe a light snack before the game, so you don't get them too weighed down. Or, you know what, you know, this goes great with corn or green beans afterwards, you know, for a quick family dinner, you know, around the fire pit or whatever. So you can see how you got to change up the dynamics. Okay, but how you engage makes a difference. So, of course, it's not a hard sell. You're not going to berate them if they don't get it, but you need to open differently. So if you go back to everything I've talked about here, you're sorting and sifting, you're opening differently, you know, and it always works. If you're in a networking situation, you want to break the ice, pay someone a sincere compliment. So as they're walking by, you know, say, "Hey, that's a great watch. It's a nice belt. I love your shoes. I love those earrings. Where'd you get them? My anniversary's coming up," whatever, and strike up a conversation. Okay, by paying them a sincere compliment, they'll stop. Now they're more receptive to what you have to say. All right, so thanks for those questions. You made me think. I hope this was beneficial to you. Be on the lookout for an invitation to a couple of webinars, live webinars I'm doing about the art of the close that begins September 16th. It's coming up fast. This is 7 live calls where you get over a 70-page workbook. I'm still adding some content to it. You get immediate access to my 30-day sales growth program that has more questions and more videos and spreadsheets and what have you, all around selling. And then the art of the close, we get even deeper. And that's 7 live interactive calls to help you master the art of selling. So be on the lookout for those emails. The shopping cart is going to open very soon. There's going to be a $100 discount for those that take quick action. Later in the week, the price will go up. But I thank you for watching. You know, I appreciate you having a commitment to excellence, being committed to the selling profession, treating it as a profession, okay, just like any other trade, such as a teacher or engineer, because selling really is a calling. It is a profession. Professional salespeople are not born, they are made, okay? And so you can go as far as you want, make as much money as you want as a salesperson if you continue to invest in yourself and surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to achieve, and they're doing it in the manner in which you're comfortable doing it. So hopefully I've conveyed this to you. through these 3 videos, through this last one, but we're not done, okay? Check your email. We're going to hit it hard on these webinars, interactive, and I want to help you master the art of the close, which really is mastering the art of the open. And we'll show that more coming up. Thanks for watching. And remember to sell different.